Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Signal Sips. I'm Dorian, Signal's digital content marketing specialist, and with me today I have.
Brian. Hello, I'm the CFO here at Signal.
And today we're going to be doing a deep dive on your finances, including how to put your best foot forward financially, some pitfalls to avoid, and resources that are available to you to help you crush your resolutions. But before we get started, make sure you get comfortable and grab yourselves a cup of tea because we are going to be spilling all the tea on this segment. So, Brian, are you usually like a tea drinker or more so coffee, or does it just depend on the
No,
day?
I'm a tea drinker. Actually, quit coffee. That was one of my New Year's
Okay.
resolutions. Yeah,
Nice. Yeah. I honestly wish I could do that, but I get the caffeine headaches really badly.
yeah.
So, and I'm coming from a background of like drinking 4 shots of espresso a day.
Okay.
So I think it would be a little
It's been
difficult.
surprisingly easier than I thought it was going to
Okay.
be. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, going strong because, it's already February. So,
Yes.
so we got some options here,
Okay.
but I have green tea, I have chamomile, and then I also have French caramel or vanilla
I'll
caramel.
go green tea.
Perfect. I think I will do the same. So can you talk a little bit about your background at Signal and before like coming here as CFO and everything?
Sure. Yeah. So I started at Signal back in August. Prior to that, I have been the CFO of a few different credit unions. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
As well as I spent some time in the nonprofit world, kind of freelancing at something that's called a CDFI, which is a community development financial institution.
Okay.
And then way back when I worked in public accounting as an auditor. So a lot of technical accounting, finance background,
Yeah,
but
sounds like it.
very excited to be here. It was, kind of coming out of the pandemic. I've been doing freelance work, so it's nice to kind of get to be around people again and
Yeah,
interact
definitely.
on with a family of an organization.
Yeah, well, we're happy to have you here
Yeah,
and
thank you.
happy to kind of get a little bit of your insight on today's topics and everything. So going right into things, what are some of the most important financial goals that you think that people should consider setting at the beginning of the year?
Yeah, I think the first one would be, if you have a retirement plan in place, I think that's critical. I think it's so easy to assume that 2, 3% in your paycheck that you're not putting towards a 401k would be better used, in your pocket, kind of, getting through, especially with prices going up and everything.
Mm-hmm.
But if you can take advantage of any match that your employers have and really take advantage of the tax benefits of those 401ks or retirement plans, I think you just have to kind of do it and then just rebalance your budget. It'll pay off so much so in the end.
Mm-hmm.
Just as that starts accumulating and building on itself, the earlier you can start, the better you really should start.
Yeah. In addition to like an employer 401k, are there other things that people can do outside of that on their own to kind of help with investing in their retirement?
Yeah, I mean, I know we have a great wealth management services here that
Mm-hmm.
is able to help with that and help kind of put money into the market and help kind of build a portfolio for you. That also involves IRA products that can. There's lots of advantages from a tax perspective to be able to contribute now to either take the tax benefit and then you'll be able to withdraw and live on that money when your taxable income is lower when you're
Mm-hmm.
retired. So I think there's a number of products that I would recommend, from an IRA or from a wealth management, and just talking to somebody that's an expert in those products
Yeah,
to really be
definitely.
able to build out what your retirement plan
Mm-hmm.
portfolio is.
Yeah, I think a lot of people probably can feel very overwhelmed or in the sense like they don't really know which approach to take when it comes to that kind of
Mm-hmm.
stuff. But yeah, it's always nice knowing that your financial institution has like resources, people who can help you through that situation and other things like that.
Yeah, no, it's definitely it's overwhelming. It's overwhelming for me, honestly. I'm not a financial advisor, so
Mm-hmm.
even looking at the market and trying to understand the stock market and why it goes up and down doesn't really make any sense to me.
Right.
So I just try to take max out what I can get from my employee contributions. I talk to my wealth advisor about
Mm-hmm.
what I should be doing, and then I just follow kind of the expert advice,
Yeah.
and just try to save as much as possible.
Mm-hmm. And then jumping off of that, based off of members' current financial situations, how would you recommend that they kind of set these goals in a way that can be achievable and approachable for them?
Yeah, I think what's most important there is just to have a budget, is to really spend the time to look at what all of your regular expenses are, gas, maintenance, and just have a very detailed budget of kind of what all your expenses are, what your income sources are going to be, and then staying on top of it, not just
Mm-hmm.
kind of looking at it once, creating a budget, and then as as you're getting paid every 2 weeks, really looking at that budget and kind of making sure you're looking at your account every single day and kind
Mm-hmm.
of engaging with your with your money to make sure that you're living within your budget, or if you're going out, if you're going outside of it, to then you can course correct. But it's kind of, I know a lot of times people try to like don't want to look at it, don't want to kind of really engage with what
Right.
their finances are. But I think the more you engage, the more comfortable you get, the more you really know exactly how you can stretch out your finances.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know I'm definitely guilty of it, but I think a lot of people have this kind of set it and forget it mindset where they like make the budget and then they're like, okay, like I made the budget,
Yeah.
so that's good enough, but then they kind of forget about it and then they go back to look at their expenses during the end of the month and they're like, oh, I definitely went off
Yeah. Or
budget.
you get paid every 2 weeks, and then
Yeah.
like the
Mm-hmm.
first week you're just kind of like living, like a rock star.
Yeah.
And then
The bills are due.
yeah, and then and then all of a sudden the second week you're like, oh wait, I gotta
Mm-hmm.
like things are gonna be tight now for the next 5 days. So that's why I think if you're looking at it every day, you kind of have a better idea of like, okay, maybe I can go out to eat tonight, maybe not so much this,
Mm-hmm.
on a Tuesday.
Yeah. Are there any like tools that you know of? Because I know I'm a pen and paper kind of person, but I
Mm-hmm.
feel like having it on my phone especially would help. Like, do you know of any tools that might be beneficial that people can actually carry with them to help them keep better track?
I just look at online banking.
Mm-hmm.
I look at online banking and I use Savvy Money to kind of track what my spending is.
Mm-hmm.
But that's really mine. Is it's every I'm on my phone so frequently that if I'm just constantly looking at my what the balance of my account is and how much I have left, and then the same thing. I have it written down in paper so I know kind of what my expendable income is every two
Mm-hmm.
weeks. So I try to pay all of my bills as soon as I get paid and try to time those automatic transactions, and then I'm just constantly like focusing on what is my balance in my
Yeah.
account.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of widgets that'll kind of make it front and center for you,
Perfect.
so you can see
Yeah.
what the balance is, so you don't even have to log in.
Yeah, that's nice. Yeah,
Yeah.
they definitely need to do that. Speaking of budgets,
Hmm.
do you have any tips for how people can create an effective budget that they can actually stick to versus like is it better to do itemized groups versus just kind of lumping everything in together? These are my expenses, this is my income, and that kind of stuff.
I do it based off of my paycheck. So here's what my net pay is, after I've contributed to my 401k,
Mm-hmm.
and then here's all my bills, and then I try to separate them into, we get paid twice or every 2 weeks, so I have bi-monthly bills that I pay. And then I try to do individual line items like this much for gas. I know that I'm going to go out to eat, so I have this much money for weekend expenses, tolls. Now that we're all going
Mm-hmm.
back to the office, the toll. Making
Yeah.
sure that I have enough money for tolls.
Mm-hmm.
So I really try to like look at, okay, what am I paying on a weekly basis, and then kind of factor that in line item by line item.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. Are you like an Excel person, or are you
Yeah,
more like?
as a finance guy, I'm definitely, it's all in Excel for me. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so then I can kind of calculate like, okay, how much do I actually have left, and what else do I still have to pay?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, as much as I try and be an Excel person, it's still a struggle for me. But I know there's like plenty of like free templates out there, and people who have like YouTube tutorials on how to make a budget in Excel. So that's definitely been helpful for me.
Yeah, no, I'm sure there's a number of tools online.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then I know people like me and like other people outside
Mm-hmm.
of that have a lot of goals for paying down debt. But when they're financial planning, are there certain ways that they can kind of prioritize saving versus tackling that debt? Or if there are better strategies to the approach of both items within their finances?
Yeah, I think you have to look at what the rates are that you're paying on those borrowings. So, if you have a car loan that's at, 3, 4, 5%, you probably can pay the minimum on those. Where if
Mm-hmm.
you have, your credit card, is probably, in the teens in a percentage. So you want to pay that more just because you want to pay the least amount of interest as possible.
Mm-hmm.
So I always try to prioritize by that. There's obviously, your mortgage and your home equity and some of your most crucial borrowings are going to have to be things that you pay.
Mm-hmm.
But if you have the capacity to pay additionally, I always try to say, look at what the interest rate is and try to pay the highest interest rate down. There's also a philosophy too, though. If you have smaller debts, like if you have a small credit card debt that maybe is a couple $1,000s and you have a $20,000 car loan, you can build momentum for yourself personally
Mm-hmm.
by just paying off those smaller debts. if you can find a way to pay off that $1,000, just the strong feeling of getting a hold of your
Yeah,
finances will
definitely.
lead you more likely to make better decisions in the future with that.
Yeah, I know that's definitely how I feel about my student loans. Like, I've been kind of tackling them little by little, and I like pay one off in full every single year, which like
Yeah.
makes me feel so much better than just kind of like sitting there. Like, I know a lot of friends and family who have just kind of paid the minimum for as
Yeah.
long as the loan has been there, and then eventually they will pay it off. But I'm the kind of person where I'm like, I want to tackle it as soon as I can and kind of get
Yeah.
it out of the way.
With my student loans, what I did is as I was paying them off, I would then just I figured that amount of money was just tagged for like education. So it's like as I paid off my
Okay.
student loans, because I have a daughter now that's 10.
Mhm.
So I just took whatever that monthly payment I was paying when I paid off the student loan, I just started putting it into a 457
Oh wow, that's
plan.
really smart.
Yeah, so it was
Yeah.
like no matter what, my budget didn't change. I
Yeah.
just changed the line item from my student
Mhm.
loan to my daughter's college savings. So
Yeah.
at least I'll be able to give her something. So that's
Mhm.
another key. The states have pretty good 457 plans that can help you to start to plan for your
Yeah,
kids'
definitely.
education.
Yeah, that's like really smart.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like you said, that way you don't have to adjust your budget and you can just reallocate as
Yeah, it's
needed.
that dollar amount that,
Mhm.
$200 a month is going to go towards education, whether it's,
Yourself or someone
myself or
else.
my daughters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. And then what are some common pitfalls that people should avoid when they're trying to manage their money or get things under control?
Yeah, I think there's this avoidance where people, like I said earlier, people don't want to like really, they think it's just too overwhelming and they're
Mhm.
not,
Right.
what's the point of even trying to get my hands around this
Mhm.
because I don't make enough money, prices are going up on everything, interest rates are rising. So I think you just kind of have to bite the bullet and just like, okay, like let's make a realistic budget. Like here's how much I actually have left. Do I need to, that's what it is, and then have to live within it. I think you can, especially you can start to accumulate credit card debt if you don't really kind of like focus in on what your actual take home is
Right.
and what's left over for you to kind of live off of.
Mhm.
So I think it's just really being brave enough to like sit down and actually look at it and have a real conversation with yourself and not or bring in somebody that can help you kind of strategize it out.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's another area where people might feel like you were saying too overwhelmed or they don't really have the knowledge or
Yeah.
the kind of base financial education to really sit down and face it. And I think like having an honest conversation with someone else definitely helps, but I found with like budgeting and other things as well is when you sit down and actually do it, it's actually like not as scary as you think it is going to
Yeah.
be. So I think it's just kind of getting over that hump of like fear or thinking that it's unattainable to get things under control that people really should address, and especially like finding someone that they can maybe confide in
Yeah.
and like talk about their situation with.
Well, if you think about it too, it's probably only like 10 transactions a month that are
Right.
your debt obligations. And then you've
Yeah.
got, so you're not talking about a lot of activity that you need to kind of map out. So even if you're not strong in math or finance,
Mm-hmm.
like it's something that everybody can tackle and can, use, and there's a lot of resources that people can help with those
Mm-hmm.
conversations.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of financial education tools and other money management
Hmm.
aspects, are there certain tools that members and non-members can kind of take advantage of to help them start a budget, stick to it, and then take control of their finances and continue on that journey throughout the year?
Yeah, the one that jumps out to me is on our online banking, the Savvy Money profile, because I know that will show you it'll help you track your credit, so you'll be able to monitor, whether your credit's improved. I mean, credit's so important. So that's another thing that you really need to kind of stay on top of and know what your credit score is at all time.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you're not looking to make large transactions, buy a car, buy a house in the immediate future, like if you're not staying laser focused on that number, that could definitely impact you down the road when
Right.
you do need to make those transactions. So Savvy Money is great for that, to be able to keep that number in front of you and promote the activity that's benefiting your credit score. It also helps kind of helps you look at the borrowings that you do have and identify if there's opportunities where you could possibly lower those interest rates. I mean, not being afraid to refinance some of your borrowings is probably another key strategy, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
If you can, find a better deal or lower your monthly payment by maybe refinancing, your car loan or your personal loan, those help kind of, lower what that monthly number that you need to meet your debt obligations is.
Mm-hmm.
So Savvy Money is the one that sticks out the most. I can't think of any external ones that I
Mm-hmm.
would recommend.
Yeah, I know through our website we have like the content corner, which is mostly blog posts and
Hmm.
articles. And then we have webinars that are free for members. And I believe some of them are also free for non members. And then just our like financial literacy page as a whole has a lot of different resources. And then have you explored Balance Pro yet?
I have not.
Yeah, so Balance Pro is another one of our partners, and they have like financial calculators, like
Oh, great.
calculating your mortgage payment, like paying down credit card debt,
Hmm.
that kind of stuff. I think we have some of those linked on the website as well, but it's good to know that within online banking, members have access to that kind of stuff. And then outside of it, there's also like those calculators and articles and everything.
Yeah.
And then, of course, like Google is free.
Fair enough. Yeah.
Okay, and then the last topic that I wanted to talk about is what steps members can take overall, the long term, that can kind of help improve their financial health. Because I know we talked about creating a budget and looking at financial tools, but is there any advice in particular that you would give for people to remain focused over the long term versus short term goals?
Yeah. I think, I mean, again, if you have any retirement, focusing on retirement, especially at an early age,
Mm-hmm.
is so critical. I mean, I think, when you're in your early 20s and you don't have kids and you don't have as many obligations, like you're making probably the least amount of money because you're earlier in your career, but it's
Mm-hmm.
such an opportunity to really invest in and take advantage of that and try to max out your 401k as much as possible.
Mm-hmm.
You'll thank yourself in the future.
Yeah.
And so I would say, focusing on retirement from a very early age, maximizing any employee contributions you can get towards your 401ks. You should be doing that, immediately. Those would be the biggest things long term, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
And then also I'd go back to kind of your credit score. I think even though you may not be looking to make any large purchases in the short term, like you should really be focused on what your credit score is and trying to build it as high as possible,
Right.
because the options you'll have when you do try to make some of those larger purchases will really, you'll have many more options, and it'll be much more competitive for you to be able to get a loan,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's a larger car loan or a mortgage. So that really helps you in the future if you can focus on it, throughout your kind of credit history.
Right. For people who might be struggling with their credit score right now, would you have any recommendations on how they might be able to tackle it over the year to help increase it so that they have those options available to them?
Yeah, I think if you're behind on any of your loans that maybe negatively impacting your credit score, it's there's like a 3-year window that shows up on your credit score. So engaging with your financial institution and talking to them and finding solutions,
Mm-hmm.
as opposed to, again, just to kind of ignoring the problem and pretending
Right.
like it's not there,
Yeah.
really will benefit you, and it doesn't take long to kind of turn that around.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing too would just be, again, looking at some of these credit tools that give you, they'll give you tips on what can improve your credit score. So
Mm-hmm.
it might be, not, having a credit card that you don't, you only use a small portion of the balance. So there's a lot of things that go into your credit score that you wouldn't necessarily think about. Not having, too many open lines of credit. It's really
Mm-hmm.
easy to sign up for a credit card and get a free T-shirt, but at the
Right.
same time, if you have 20 of those, like that looks negatively on your credit score.
Okay.
So
Mm-hmm.
you can look at your credit score and your credit report, and it'll give you the factors that are factoring into your score, both positively and negatively. So again, just, kind of leaning into it, and the information's there. So
Mm-hmm.
not being afraid of it and just focusing on what you can control.
Yeah, definitely. And I've heard a lot of people say like never close your first credit card.
Uh-huh.
So don't do that because I almost did it, and then everybody that I talked to was like, absolutely do not close your first credit card.
Length of credit with an institution. I mean, it helps too. Like if somebody's had a credit union or had a credit card with us for a number of years and has been a loyal member,
Mm-hmm.
you're much more likely to be, to have more optionality when it comes
Right.
to other, debt products or other, when you do need other services down the line.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. That's good to know as well. So thank you, Brian, for joining me on this segment of Signal Sips and for spilling all the tea on New Year finances. And thank you, everybody, for watching. Once again, I'm Dorian.
And I'm Brian.
And I'll see you all next time.